In the red glow of life's chaos, there lies an eternal truth whispered by those who dared to master themselves. Silence is power, and foolishness is the enemy. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king, understood this well. In the pages of his Meditations, he revealed the secret to a life of self-mastery. Calmness amidst the storm, clarity amidst confusion, and strength amidst adversity. Today we embark on a journey, not merely to understand Stoicism, but to embody it, to shed our chains of distraction, weakness, and emotional turbulence, and rise as those who walk the narrow path of inner power. Number 1. Keep calm. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Marcus Aurelius. Imagine a storm raging in the middle of the ocean. The waves are violent, the winds relentless, but deep beneath the surface, the waters remain calm. This is the essence of a Stoic mind, tranquil amidst chaos. Keeping calm is not a passive surrender to life's challenges. It is an active, deliberate choice to master one's inner world. When a colleague insults you at work, the fool reacts impulsively, shouting back or harboring resentment. But the wise take a moment to pause, breathe, and reflect. What is the insult but words in the air? Why should it have power over your peace? By remaining calm, you do not let the emotion of the moment dictate your actions. You respond with dignity, turning what could be a conflict into an opportunity to demonstrate strength. In practice, keeping calm involves training the mind to see beyond the immediate. One effective method is to create mental distance from the situation. Marcus Aurelius advised imagining events as if you were observing them from above, a mere speck in the vast universe. This perspective shrinks the perceived magnitude of problems and reminds us how insignificant most events are in the grand scheme of life. Another real-life example comes from athletes under pressure. A tennis player facing match point cannot afford to panic. Instead, they slow their breathing, block out distractions, and focus entirely on the next move. This ability to stay calm is what separates champions from the rest. Calmness is your shield. It deflects the chaos of the world and keeps you centered. In mastering this, you master yourself. And a person who controls their inner world is unshakable, no matter what the external world hurls at them. Number 2. Principle follow-through. First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. Epictetus. In the tumult of life, principles are our guiding stars. They are the unshakable truths we hold close, the compass that steers us through moral ambiguity, temptation, and fear. Without principles, we drift aimlessly, slaves to circumstance. To live a life of purpose, we must not only define our principles, but have the discipline to follow through on them. Take, for instance, the principle of honesty. Imagine you are in a situation where a lie could save you embarrassment or secure a short-term advantage. The fool rationalizes dishonesty, thinking only of immediate gain. But the Stoic remains steadfast. To betray your principles, even once, is to weaken them. Instead, you choose truth, even when it is uncomfortable or costly. Over time, this consistency builds a reputation, not only with others, but within yourself, a foundation of integrity you can rely on. The follow-through is what separates mere talk from meaningful action. Many declare their principles boldly, but falter when tested. Consider the example of a leader who values fairness. In a business meeting, they are pressured to cut corners at the expense of their employees. A leader without resolve might compromise for profit, but one who follows through on their principles resists, even if it means losing short-term gains. Their actions demonstrate their commitment, and this unwavering integrity inspires loyalty and respect. A practical way to strengthen principle follow-through is to start small. Commit to something simple, waking up at the same time every day, or completing a specific task, no matter how tired you feel. Each time you honor your commitment, you reinforce your ability to follow through. These small victories prepare you for larger challenges where your principles will be tested on a grander scale. Athletes often embody this practice. A marathon runner who commits to finishing a race doesn't give up when exhaustion hits. They focus on the principle of perseverance, taking one step after another until they cross the finish line. Their resolve isn't about the applause at the end, but the quiet satisfaction of staying true to their commitment. Principles without action are empty words. By following through, we transform them into a powerful force that shapes not just our lives, but the world around us. This is how we rise above the common crowd and live with unshakable purpose. What principles define you? And more importantly, do your actions honor them? Number 3, strength and adversity. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Marcus Aurelius. Adversity is not your enemy. It is your greatest teacher. Every challenge you face is an opportunity to forge strength, to grow beyond what you were yesterday. The weak recoil at hardship, cursing their fate, but the Stoic embraces it, understanding that resistance is what shapes resilience. Imagine you're preparing for a critical exam or project, and unforeseen obstacles arise. Your computer crashes, weeks of work are lost, and the deadline looms. The average person might despair, allowing frustration to cloud their judgment. But a Stoic sees this obstacle differently. Yes, the situation is difficult, but it is also a chance to adapt, to test the limits of your problem-solving and endurance. You rebuild your work with determination, learning new skills and strategies in the process. The hardship doesn't just pass. It transforms you into someone stronger and more capable. This mindset of embracing adversity is common among elite soldiers. Consider the grueling training of Navy SEALs, designed to push recruits to their physical and mental limits. Those who succeed are not necessarily the strongest or the fastest, but those who can endure, adapt, and persist despite exhaustion and pain. These trials prepare them for the unpredictability of real missions, where calm under pressure can mean the difference between life and death. Adversity also builds inner strength. Take the story of Helen Keller, who was left blind and deaf after a childhood illness. Instead of succumbing to despair, she transformed her challenges into a source of power, becoming an advocate for the disabled and an inspiration to millions. Her life exemplifies the Stoic principle. Obstacles aren't barriers. They are pathways to greatness. In our everyday lives, adversity may appear in smaller forms: a failed relationship, a missed promotion, or a health setback. The key is to shift your perspective. Instead of asking, "Why me?" ask, "What can I learn from this?" Each struggle, no matter how painful, carries within it the seed of growth. Like a blade forged in fire, we become sharper, stronger, and more capable when tested. Strength is not about avoiding adversity. It is about thriving in its presence. When the storm comes, do not curse the rain. Instead, stand firm and let it remind you of your power. The obstacle is not the end. It is the way forward. Number 4, get rid of distractions. In a world overflowing with noise, distractions are the silent thieves of our time and focus. They rob us not only of productivity, but of the ability to live with purpose and clarity. The fool indulges in these distractions, seeking fleeting pleasures and avoiding discomfort. The Stoic, however, sees distractions for what they truly are, obstacles to self-mastery, and systematically removes them. Imagine this scenario. You're working on an important project, but your phone buzzes constantly with notifications. A quick check of a message turns into an hour of scrolling through social media. When you finally return to your work, your focus is fractured, and frustration sets in. This cycle is all too common in our age of endless digital temptations. The Stoic solution is simple yet profound. Reclaim your attention. Marcus Aurelius, even as an emperor, faced constant demands on his time. Yet he disciplined himself to focus only on what truly mattered. He wrote, "If you seek tranquility, do less." Or, more accurately, do what's essential. This wisdom applies even more in today's chaotic world. Strip away the inessential, and what remains is clarity and purpose. One practical approach is to design your environment to minimize distractions. Block out time for deep, focused work, and silence unnecessary notifications. Remove temptations from your immediate surroundings. If your phone is a source of distraction, place it in another room while working. By creating boundaries, you reclaim control over your attention. Consider the example of athletes preparing for competition. They eliminate distractions from their lives, limiting social activities, following strict diets, and adhering to rigorous training schedules. Their focus is not divided, it is laser sharp. This discipline is what enables them to perform at the highest levels, achieving feats most can only dream of. Distractions aren't just external. They are also internal. Our minds can become cluttered with worries, doubts, and irrelevant thoughts. The Stoic practice of mindfulness can help here. By focusing on the present moment and acknowledging thoughts without judgment, you can train your mind to stay anchored in what truly matters. Life is short. To squander it on distractions is to waste the precious time we have to grow, create, and connect. By eliminating distractions, we do not just simplify our lives, we elevate them. The path to greatness requires focus, and focus begins with letting go of what doesn't serve us. Number 5. Inner strength. If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this, you have the power to revoke at any moment. Marcus Aurelius. Inner strength is the foundation upon which resilience is built. It is not dependent on external circumstances, but cultivated through discipline, perspective, and self-awareness. While the fool blames the world for their suffering, the Stoic turns inward, drawing power from a deep well of self-mastery. Consider a situation where you face a significant setback. Perhaps you lose a job or fail at an important endeavor. The immediate instinct might be to panic, blame others, or wallow in self-pity. But the Stoic sees this moment differently. Instead of focusing on what is lost, they focus on what remains, their ability to choose their response. This choice is where true strength lies. You can either let the setback define you, or use it as a stepping stone to growth. Think of Viktor Frankl, the Austrian psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor, who endured unimaginable suffering in concentration camps. Stripped of everything, his freedom, family, and possessions, Frankl discovered that the one thing no one could take from him was his ability to choose his attitude. He wrote, "When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves." His inner strength became a beacon, guiding him through the darkest moments of his life. In everyday life, this principle applies to both major and minor challenges. Imagine being stuck in traffic, running late for an important meeting. You cannot control the cars around you or the ticking clock, but you can control your reaction. Will you succumb to frustration, or will you take a deep breath, accept the situation, and use the time to reflect or listen to something that enriches you? By choosing calm over chaos, you exercise inner strength. Building inner strength requires regular practice. Meditation, journaling, and self-reflection are tools to cultivate awareness of your thoughts and emotions. Physical challenges, like exercise or enduring discomfort intentionally, can also fortify your mental resilience. Each time you face discomfort with grace, you strengthen the muscle of your mind. Inner strength is not about never falling. It is about rising every time you do. Life will test you, and external circumstances will shift like the tides. But when you anchor yourself in unshakable inner strength, no storm can sink you. Instead, you rise above, navigating life's challenges with calm, courage, and clarity. Number 6. Depth of knowledge. It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows. Epictetus. True wisdom lies not in the mere accumulation of facts, but in the depth of understanding. The fool skims the surface, content with shallow comprehension, while the Stoic dives deeply into the waters of knowledge, seeking truth, meaning, and mastery. Knowledge, when pursued with depth, becomes a weapon against ignorance and a guide to living well. Consider the difference between someone who memorizes a book and someone who understands its essence. The first person can recite passages, but remains unchanged. The second applies the lessons to their life, transforming understanding into action. The Stoic strives to be the latter, focusing on quality over quantity in their pursuit of knowledge. Marcus Aurelius demonstrated this principle throughout his life. As emperor, he could have delegated intellectual pursuits to others, yet he dedicated himself to studying philosophy deeply, not for vanity, but for practical guidance. In Meditations, he reflects on the value of wisdom in navigating life's challenges, writing, "Look within. Within is the fountain of good, and it will ever bubble up if you will ever dig." His focus on depth allowed him to lead with clarity, balance, and purpose. In the modern world, we are inundated with information, news headlines, social media posts, and endless streams of content create an illusion of knowledge. Yet how much of this information truly serves us? A Stoic approach requires discernment, choosing what to study deeply and rejecting what is trivial. For example, instead of passively scrolling through social media, spend that time mastering a skill, reading a profound book, or reflecting on life's greater questions. A practical example of depth over superficiality can be seen in learning a craft. Imagine someone trying to play the guitar. One person learns a few chords and stops there, content with basic tunes. Another dedicates years to understanding music theory, experimenting with styles, and perfecting their technique. The difference is clear. One entertains themselves, while the other achieves mastery. This dedication to depth is what distinguishes mediocrity from greatness. Depth of knowledge also extends to understanding oneself. A Stoic regularly reflects on their thoughts, emotions, and actions. Journaling, meditating, or seeking feedback from mentors are ways to dig deeper into your inner world. The pursuit of deep knowledge transforms us. It sharpens our mind, enriches our soul, and equips us to navigate life's complexities. Let us reject the shallow and strive for depth, both in understanding the world and ourselves. For it is in depth that wisdom truly resides. Number 7. Non-judgment. Everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything we see is a perspective, not the truth. Marcus Aurelius. Judgment is the enemy of clarity. It clouds our vision, fuels unnecessary conflict, and traps us in cycles of misunderstanding. The Stoic recognizes this and practices non-judgment, understanding that what we perceive is filtered through our own biases, emotions, and limited perspective. To refrain from judgment is to embrace wisdom and cultivate peace. Imagine encountering someone who cuts you off in traffic. The natural reaction might be anger, coupled with assumptions about their character. They're selfish, or they're reckless. But what do you truly know about their circumstances? Perhaps they're rushing to the hospital or distracted by an emergency. Non-judgment invites us to pause, step back, and consider that we rarely know the full story. This practice doesn't excuse bad behavior, but liberates us from the unnecessary burden of emotional reactivity. This principle is evident in the life of Marcus Aurelius, who ruled an empire with countless advisors, conflicts, and personal challenges. Despite this, he consistently reminded himself to avoid rash judgments. In Meditations he wrote, "How much trouble he avoids, who does not look to see what his neighbor says, or does or thinks, but only to what he does himself." By focusing on his own actions and intentions, he maintained balance and clarity in his leadership. In our own lives, non-judgment can be transformative in relationships. Consider a disagreement with a friend. The fool judges quickly, labeling the other as wrong or unreasonable. The Stoic, however, seeks to understand. Instead of reacting, they ask, "Why does this person feel this way? What perspective am I missing?" This mindset not only de-escalates conflict, but fosters deeper connections built on empathy and respect. To practice non-judgment, cultivate mindfulness. When a judgment arises, pause and ask yourself, is this fact or opinion? What evidence do I truly have? Journaling can also help you identify patterns in your thinking and challenge assumptions that may not serve you. Non-judgment is not indifference. It is freedom. It frees you from the chains of emotional reactions and allows you to approach life with curiosity, humility, and compassion. By letting go of premature conclusions, we open ourselves to deeper understanding, not only of others, but of the complex, ever-changing world around us. Number 8. The way to listen deeply. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. Epictetus. To listen deeply is to transcend mere hearing. It is an act of focus, humility, and presence. The fool listens only to respond, their mind racing with rebuttals before the speaker has finished. The Stoic, on the other hand, listens to understand, setting aside ego and distraction to fully engage with the speaker's words and emotions. Imagine a heated discussion with a colleague or friend. The fool interrupts, asserting their viewpoint, turning the exchange into a battle of egos. But the wise pause, listening with patience and curiosity. They ask questions, clarify meaning, and seek the truth beneath the words. This form of listening not only resolves conflict, but strengthens relationships, building a foundation of trust and mutual respect. Marcus Aurelius understood the power of attentive listening. As an emperor, he dealt with countless advisors, each vying for his attention. Yet, his writings and meditations reflect a deliberate effort to understand others fully before forming judgments or decisions. He reminded himself to be tolerant with others and strict with yourself, a principle that begins with listening deeply to those around you. A modern example of deep listening comes from effective leaders. Think of a manager who genuinely listens to their team. Instead of dismissing concerns or imposing solutions, they encourage open dialogue, ask thoughtful questions, and ensure everyone feels heard. This approach not only improves morale, but often leads to better outcomes, as diverse perspectives are considered. To practice deep listening, Start with presence. Put away distractions, whether it's your phone, a wandering mind, or preconceived notions. Look the speaker in the eye and focus on their words, tone, and body language. Resist the urge to interrupt or mentally prepare your response. Instead, ask clarifying questions to ensure you understand their perspective fully. Another key is to silence your ego. Deep listening isn't about proving you're right or smarter. It's about understanding the other person's world. This humility fosters empathy and connection, even in difficult conversations. Listening deeply is a skill that transforms lives. It allows us to connect, learn, and resolve with grace. When we listen not to reply but to understand, we open doors to wisdom and strengthen the bonds that make life meaningful. This is the way of the Stoic listener, silent, attentive, and deeply engaged. Number 9. Be humble. It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Epictetus. Humility, which is the hallmark of strength and wisdom. It is not about diminishing yourself, but about recognizing your limitations, embracing growth, and staying grounded amidst success. The fool seeks praise and validation, blinded by arrogance. The Stoic, however, understands that true greatness lies in humility, for it is the gateway to learning and self-improvement. Imagine a professional athlete at the peak of their career. The fool basks in applause, convinced of their invincibility. But the humble champion understands that their success rests not only on their talent, but also on the guidance of coaches, the support of teammates, and the lessons learned from past failures. By remaining humble, they continue to refine their skills, avoiding complacency and staying ahead of those who overestimate their abilities. Marcus Aurelius embodied humility, even as the most powerful man in the Roman Empire. In meditations, he frequently reminded himself that his role was to serve, not to dominate. He wrote, "Do not think yourself more highly than you ought to. Instead, recognize your role in the grand order of the universe." This perspective allowed him to lead with wisdom and grace, keeping his ego in check despite his immense power. A practical example of humility can be seen in the workplace. Consider a manager who openly admits their mistakes and seeks input from their team. Rather than asserting dominance, they create an environment of collaboration and mutual respect. This humility not only strengthens their leadership, but also empowers those around them to contribute their best ideas. To cultivate humility, start by embracing the concept of lifelong learning. Remind yourself that no matter how much you know, there is always more to discover. Seek feedback from others and listen without defensiveness. Recognize your dependence on the contributions of others, whether it's your family, colleagues, or mentors. Another way to practice humility is to reflect on your place in the broader universe. The Stoics often contemplated the vastness of existence, which helps to put our personal achievements and struggles into perspective. This cosmic view fosters gratitude and curbs arrogance. Humility is not weakness, it is a quiet strength. It allows us to grow without pride, connect without superiority, and lead without oppression. The humble person rises not by standing above others, but by lifting them. In humility, we find the foundation for true greatness. Number 10. Having self-control. No man is free who is not master of himself. Epictetus. Self-control is the bedrock of freedom. Without it, we are slaves to our impulses, emotions, and desires. The fool gives in to every craving, letting fleeting pleasures dictate their life. The Stoic, however, understands that true power lies in mastering oneself, for only then can we shape our destiny instead of being shaped by it. Imagine someone trying to break a habit, like overeating or procrastinating. The fool sets lofty goals, but falters at the first temptation, telling themselves, just this once. This small surrender spirals into a pattern of indulgence, leaving them further from their goals. In contrast, the Stoic recognizes the moment of choice as a test of will. They pause, reflect, and choose the action that aligns with their values, not their impulses. This practice strengthens their resolve over time, creating a virtuous cycle of discipline and progress. Consider the example of athletes preparing for a competition. A runner training for a marathon doesn't skip training because it's raining or they're tired. They push through discomfort, keeping their eyes on the goal. This self-control not only builds physical endurance, but also mental resilience. The ability to delay gratification and stay disciplined is what separates the mediocre from the extraordinary. Marcus Aurelius, who faced constant temptations as emperor, understood the value of self-control. In Meditations, he wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Despite his immense authority, he practiced restraint, prioritizing reason and virtue over indulgence or excess. To build self-control, start with small, intentional acts of discipline. Choose one area of your life, whether it's waking up earlier, eating healthier, or reducing screen time, and commit to improvement. Each time you resist temptation, you reinforce your ability to control your actions. Mindfulness is another powerful tool. When you feel the pull of an impulse, pause and observe it. Ask yourself, will this action bring me closer to my goals or pull me further away? This moment of reflection allows you to act consciously rather than react impulsively. Self-control is not about suppression. It's about alignment. By mastering your desires, you free yourself to pursue what truly matters. In this mastery, you gain the strength to build a life of purpose, balance, and fulfillment. The Stoic's path is not easy, but it is the path to true freedom. Stoicism is not a philosophy to merely read, but a way of life to practice. It teaches us to face adversity with calmness, to act based on principles rather than fleeting emotions, and to build strength from within. Above all, Stoicism reminds us that our lives are not shaped by what happens to us, but by how we respond to it. Start applying this philosophy today. When faced with challenges, remember that you control your reaction. When temptation arises, choose self-discipline. When engaging with others, listen with empathy and avoid judgment. Each small action, performed with mindfulness and principle, will gradually transform your life. Stoicism doesn't promise an easy life, but it offers a strong, clear, and meaningful one. And as we live by this philosophy, we not only improve ourselves, but inspire those around us. So step forward, not as a passive observer of life, but as someone who truly masters it.